Well, Coach, you're less than 2 weeks away from week one. Right now, throughout camp and all the battles and everything, are you kind of happy with the way your team is progressing?
Well, we are making progress. I think, the headway, we've been in it for really 3 weeks now. And you see the steps that we have taken now. Are there some big strides that need to be made? Absolutely. Yes, really pleased with the progress, but a long ways to go.
And just talking about the defensive backfield, I know we've been talking about them a lot. Do you feel like that's a group where they have some leaders to help the defense with some of that inexperience?
Well, there's some guys that have played a good number of snaps. I know we've visited about this. You look at corner, with Jamari Bellamy, Jerome, and T. Will. You look there at the safety spots, especially with Levi Brown. Camby's played, a good number of snaps, so that certainly helps.
And just with Bellamy, real quick, what does he bring to the table skill-wise and as a leader and what he's done for this program?
Yeah, Jamari is a really strong student, a tremendous competitor, a guy that cares immensely, and you just see so many of the attributes that he puts forth, whether it was the job requirements, his leadership role this summer, and the way that he helped out in basic training, being able to teach somebody, all right, if there's a pretty significant injury here were some of those serious injuries and the way you'd help another person if that were to occur. The other part, again, I just mentioned the academic part, tells you he's a guy that's got a good bit of self-discipline. And he's been a good player for us.
Last week, talking to Thiessen, we were talking kind of more about the new parts of Falcon Stadium and how those elements are making him just a little bit more excited about game day. How do you feel about those, and have those additions, are they making you feel any more excited?
Well, you love it, right? The additional amenities. Anytime you triple or quadruple the number of restrooms, as simple as that is, people appreciate that. And then certainly the food options that are available and the premium seating part of it, and I think just how close it is to the action and the proximity to the cadets in the field of play, that's pretty cool.
Absolutely. And then I don't think we'll get to talk to you before Mary Mac. What do you know about them, and what challenges do they present on the field?
Well, we will. We'll visit next Tuesday. So, yeah, right? Am I accurate on that? Okay, yeah. Yeah, Dan, I will say this. I don't know if it necessarily answers what you asked, but we will. We went at very hard this summer, game planning. We'll do it again tomorrow. And we are starting tomorrow morning. We are all Merrimack mode.
You mentioned the academic piece with Bellamy. Can you elaborate on that? Has it been growth? Is there an area of
He's
study?
just been a really strong student. Especially I think naturally as soon as you dive into your majors classes, that helps too. And I think the other part a little bit, the number of guys that we bring to the academy that really do not have any military background. You go through some. Everybody does when you come to the academy. Some challenges, I think, especially when you don't have that kind of background. And it sure is neat to see so many of these guys really, for whatever reason. Well, I think I got a few reasons. They head into that third year and they really start to blossom. Whether it's in school, probably the understanding. The realization that the structure and the organization of the academy actually can become an ally and help you, whether it's time management, probably as much as anything.
And with those three at cornerback who have played, some significant snaps, is there still thought on trying to find a way to get all three on the field at the same time, or will it just simply be a rotation?
Maybe. If we got in a situation, whether it was a dime, if you were playing somebody maybe that was a primary at least four receivers that are on the field, that might change, the way we play. You look at it, obviously Charlie Jackson does an absolutely he's sensational, as a coach at that spot. You look at the confidence. I think especially the last week, Jerome, my goodness, the last 5 practices, you can just tell the lights really come on. And in fairness to him, 13 months ago, he wasn't there. In July of 2023, he was thinking safety. That would have really been his only background for the most part. And yet for him to come in and play a good bit last year, to have this off season, and like I said, the last handful of practices, that's been good to see. And then just the quickness and the competitiveness and the instincts of T-Will too.
Yeah, now with the 3 of them, their skill sets seem a little bit diverse, and their height. Would that kind of give you the ability to match up a little bit, or is that not really a
No, we do
possibility?
it. We've done that before. I think, the part that Charlie and Brian Knorr, what they've done is, they just being able to develop the strengths of each guy's skill level. And some guys are so much better the closer they are to a line of scrimmage. Some guys are so much better playing an inside leverage man technique and in certain situations. Some guys are so good at maybe being involved and run support, what you call cloud or corner support. And they do a super job of developing guys and putting them in those good spots.
With Dylan coming in, obviously he's in your position group room, so you probably have a little more insight. Like, how have you seen him change over the years that he's been here and grow?
You have a guy, like I said earlier, I think when you first get to the academy, boy, your eyes are really wide open. And they were for him. I think he'd tell you that. Those first few weeks he was here, he was like, am I in the right spot? And yet, boy, it didn't take too long till you realized academically exceptionally strong, the maturity, the focus, the determination. He's a pretty dialed-in guy.
And we've heard he's pretty quiet. Is he like that in all areas, or do you see a different side of him when he's doing anything?
Yeah, we have both Dylan and Jamari coming in today, right? Really, by and large, both those guys, they don't necessarily say a lot, yet I think your most effective leaders are the ones that do it by example. And tell you, though, they both bring you thoughts team-wise. Both guys, I love getting to know guys individually. Just some of the insights that each one of them will bring to me, it's helpful.
I'm going to butcher his name, but Lincoln Tuioti Mariner. We've never talked about him. How could he factor into this defense?
We'll see. As we go. As we go forward, where that may be. Right now, if I had to say who'd go out there, it would be. You're looking at some combination of, probably Kenneth Beard at nickel, and the 2 safeties would be Levi Brown and Camby Goff. I think you'd see those 3 guys play a good number of snaps. If Camby's able to make a full recovery, we're hoping that's the case. And yet if it's not, then, is it Jake Martin that goes in there next, or I can't say for sure who it may be. Is it Kyle Chin? Is it, those would be possibilities. Or do you reconsider perhaps taking one of the corners and moving into one of the safety spots?
Okay. Is Lincoln kind of with Casey Beard at the nickel? Is that, or behind him, I guess?
Right now I think that's probably where he would play.
And then one other player who just stood out to me is Trey Roberson, the receiver. Like, has he made any kind of movement in the spring?
The part, all good. He is very reliable, has really, really good football awareness, and good ball skills, and he has improved. And what's good for him is it's as healthy as he's been. We saw a little bit at the end of spring, but certainly throughout April, May, and the summer, and then over the last 2.5 weeks too.
And then I'll pass it. The assessment of the tight end position, another spot we haven't really talked about.
You know, at tight end, the guy right now who would likely play the most snaps would be Bruin Fleischman. And then next would likely be Parker Menifee. Both are guys, I said earlier, they hit that third year. A lot of times at the academy, you start to see the confidence, and they realize the kind of balance that's required throughout a day, really a week, the planning throughout a month or a full semester. Those guys, I think, absolutely have learned that.
When you bring a freshman in, do you feel like the third year is really when you're like, okay, this guy can really play, or this guy has basically no chance of playing? Do you kind of know that after the third year or the second year?
Give me a little thought here. Let me consider. So you're saying like when a guy first
Yes,
comes
when
in,
he first comes in, his development.
when
like
does it maybe
having a
hit
plan.
that you say, boy, this guy could be a really good college football player? Is that what you're asking? You know, it happens at different points. You know, one of the things that we are going to be is really patient with every player. I think there are factors that are outside of sports that play a role in that here at the academy. Thing you do want to do, definitely want to make sure they get, they adapt, they're acclimated academically. And I just said the balance of the day of knowing how you can do well in school, the way you can still have time to, take care of what you have to with your military and your squadron obligations, and then still grow and develop as a football player. Certainly the time with Matt McGettigan, the longer that goes, the more beneficial that is, as far as development. I don't know if I could just pinpoint a time where maybe you just say, whoa, this guy's going to play a bunch of productive snaps for us. I think it happens at different points with different players.
And then seeing a lot of change in this conference, coaches, San Jose State, San Diego State, New Mexico. How appreciative are you that your staff has been pretty much together for 20-something years? And does it make it easier or harder to game plan for new coaches because you guys have been?
Yeah, it's not 20 years, but I mean, it has been. Yeah, probably, what do they say about dog years? 1 year equals 7 or something like that. In coaching, is it multiplied? Probably, yeah, for the amount of turnover, how transient. Yeah, big time in this, in this line of work. The part that we are quite grateful is you have really, really talented coaches that embrace the mentorship of our guys as young men. Their growth as a human being, their growth as an officer candidate. The other part is the incredible work that they do too, and they get the team part of it. That's there's a dynamic there, whether you're a player or whether you're a coach. I want individuals that have strengths and talents. That might be overwhelming. I don't find it that way at all. I've always thought having really strong individual talents and capabilities, you can still be one heck of a team player too. One's not a threat to the other.
You mentioned Coach Getty, and when we talk about the coaching longevity here, we usually talk about Coach Thiessen and whatnot. But how much value does he bring in just knowing what specific areas Air Force football players need to be trained?
Yeah, he's absolutely extraordinary, and I'm not sure if I've ever shared this in here. When I first got here, I felt very strongly that we needed a full-time football strength coach. And the administration said, absolutely we do. Go find who you think would be the best. And one of the quarterbacks that I had with the Houston Texans, Sage Rosenfels, played at Iowa State. And Getty's name came up. And I called Sage and I said, what do you know about that? And he said, whoa, stop right there, Troy. He said, if I was a head college coach before I hired an offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator, I'd hire Matt McGettigan. And, the part where he's so far ahead is individually, again, being able to identify what each guy needs. And there's kind of there's some generic things that you do with your body when it comes to building power. The flexibility and the movement aspect of it, building a complete athlete, he's sensational. And the consistency, the discipline, and I think so often everybody says, well, discipline, does that mean you're hollering and yelling? No. It's being organized. It's being a clear communicator. And our guys change pretty drastically in a lot of ways. And it's always so interesting. We measure a guy on, at the end of July, right before his freshman year, August 1st, prior to starting his freshman year. And then we measure him throughout and just physically seeing the changes. A little lower body fat, much more muscle mass, the flexibility when it comes to the core, when it comes to hamstrings, when it comes to glute. I mean, the relevant muscle parts of it too. The guy's absolutely amazing. And the connection, the way he truly relates to our guys, he's exceptional.
Yeah. So are things feeling pretty real a week and a half out from game one?
Oh, absolutely. I'm fired up. Remember when we posted 100 days out, and it's been going by super fast, and I'm just looking forward to August 31st, and I think everyone else is on the team as well.
So take me through your summer. What did you do?
So I went to Ops Air Force, so I went to Luke Air Force Base in Arizona. I got to fly backseat in F-16 twice, get to tour around, then went home, worked out, got pretty after it, then came back and I was a cadre, and after that, school just started and been getting after it in the fall for the past couple of weeks. So, whole lot of football.
How did what was it like going up in an F-16?
Oh, I loved it, and it kind of clicked that I really want to do that. Just the thrill and excitement, then kind of the brotherhood and camaraderie they have in the fighter squadrons is really similar to the football team. So that's something I really want to do in my career.
And in terms of preparing your body for what might be to come, like, have you done anything different this year than previous years?
No, I think I've been getting after it a little more than kind of raising the bar for myself than, for example, the guys at my rack in the weight room than our position group. So I think just kind of amping up. Then some specific I've been doing is something called shin conditioning, where you apply pressure to your shin because, I'm used to a lot of helmets and face masks to the shin. So just kind of preventing, those little bumps and bruises so I can, play 12 weeks out of the year.
And just talking to other guys about you personality-wise, somebody called you something like a silent warrior or something like that. You're very quiet. Is that by design, or is that just who you are?
I think it's a little bit of both. Like me personally, I like to be a quiet guy. My biggest thing is I like to, lead by actions, not by words. And I think that's a great example I can set for the rest of my guys. And I kind of detail that myself off of how I am as a man. So I thought I can replicate that down at the football field. So I think that's just it is a parallel to how I am in real life.
And as a cadre, were you also pretty quiet, or did you let a different part of you shine?
I was pretty quiet. So I worked the part where I was in the sick hall working with sick kids. So, you have to have compassion with them. So, I was a little lean back with that. So, yeah.
Okay. Was that a leadership position, or were you what did that job entail?
It was definitely a leadership position where you're, still leading them. Hey, like you still have to do X, Y, and Z even though you're still sick. And that was kind of the biggest thing, was making sure they're meeting all their training requirements while also, recovering from their illness or injury.
Going back leading up to game day, just being at practice on Saturday, it seems like the intensity is there. The team's looking ready. How are you feeling the intensity and competition is leading up to game day?
I think it's great. I like our intensity on both sides of the ball. It'll get chippy from time to time, but, I want that out of our guys. I want, that fire, that intensity they have. And I like where we're leading up to. There's been mental errors here and there, but that's par for course every single team, every single year. But how we've been going after it and, just how intense and how detailed we've been, I'm really looking forward to this year.
Your recruitment to Air Force, was it kind of like later on in the process that they kind of reached out to you and were like, hey, we want you to come play at the academy? What was your recruitment process like to Air Force?
Mine was really unique. I didn't have any offers until after I was done playing football my senior year. And I was kind of like, I don't know if I'm going to play football after high school. So they offered me a week before signing day. I flew out, 2 days after they gave me the offer, and I committed on the spot, just saw everything they had. And I think what sold me is, really good football program, and we win a lot. So that's why I came here.
What's been your mentality since stepping foot on campus to now being the starting fullback?
I like to think that I want to be the hardest working person in the room, that I need to outwork everyone else and prove to everyone else who I am. And I think I've had that since day one, whether, it was in the classroom or down here on the practice fields. And I think just me getting after it day in and day out, outworking everyone else, that's from freshman year to now is what has developed me.
And that experience last year, getting a bunch of reps, do you feel like that's going to help you this year kind of know what to expect in games?
Oh, 100%. I think if I didn't have those reps, I would be, a little scared going into this year. But I remember my first carry, my hand was shaking as it was in the three-point stance, and I was like, I don't know if I can do this. But after playing in games and, playing meaningful minutes and contributing to the team, I think that kind of cooled me down, and now I go into every game just calm, level-headed, and know I got a job to do and I need to execute it.
Did you have a moment where you're like, okay, I can play here?
Yeah, 100%. It was my first carry, actually. I took it for 30 yards, and I was like, all right, that's a good way to start off my career. So I think from there on out, I was like, I think I can play here, and I think I can, contribute to our offense and our team as a whole.
Your offensive coordinator says that you could squat a lot. What is your max on squat?
We don't do a single rep max, but this summer we do 3 rep maxes, then we project it. So for my 3 rep max, I did 235 kilos, which is 517 pounds for 3 reps, and projected for a single rep is 560 pounds.
Impressive, man.
I kind of want to ask you too, what's your relationship like with John Boucher kind of off the field?
It's really close. So I'm an aero major, he's an astro major, so we have a lot of classes that are kind of similar. So when it comes to schoolwork, we'll work together. Then we've just had a bond growing. Starting last year, I think back to the Boise game, like there was a lot of chemistry going in. Then, we're close, like how we think and how we want our offense to be ran, like the intensity, how fast we want to move, and the high expectations. And of course, we golf all the time. That's a really close hobby for both of us. So I'm glad that both on the field and off the field we're close in our chemistry.
Who's the better golfer?
Me. Just by a couple strokes, though. John's really good.
Do you have time to golf?
Yeah, I have time to golf from time to time, mainly in the summer. But as of recent, I've just been focusing about football, and my best score is 82.
Did you ever play with Brad Roberts? I know he was a big golfer.
Yeah, we played. There's a huge golf tournament our freshman year where all 40 squadrons sent a scramble. It was me, him, Ethan Jackman, then one of our eventually GAs last year, and he was phenomenal. I would humbly say I was the worst player in the group, but it was fun playing with all those guys and just kind of that bond, because he definitely had a couple big brother moments and helping me develop. Thinking back also to spring ball, he's there for a couple practices and just kind of helped me out in my development, and it's nice to have him there.
Yeah. And we were talking about that handshaking before your first carry. That was one play. You went from handshaking to 30-yard gain, knowing you could do it.
Right.
It was that quick.
Yeah, it was honestly a flip of the switch, and I think just I had to, honestly take a step back and take a deep breath and realize I just got to do my job. I can't overthink it, can't look into the crowd, see all the people there. I need to hold on to the rock and do my job. And that's kind of what flipped the switch. And from there on out, I became a lot more, calm, focused, and level-headed.
And the recruiting thing, that was even like D2s with the numbers you put up. D2s, NAIAs weren't calling you either.
Yeah, it was really quiet. Central Washington was my first offer, and that was in December. So I had a lot of self-confidence issues. I was like, I thought I did really good my senior year. I thought I was really impressive with my numbers and my film, but I think no one wanted to take a chance on me until I got here and haven't looked back.
Do you think, John Boucher had a very similar story. Does that leave not necessarily a chip on your shoulder, but just a certain motivation, like you really wanted this, it finally came, you're going to seize it, not just when you sign it, but a year down the road, 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road?
Oh, 100%. I can just think about, hey, they passed me up. They didn't get me until the last chance. And I honestly would call it a chip on the shoulder because it just gives me motivation. Like, no one else wanted me, but now here I am having a lot of success. And I think that is a motivator, and it's something that I can look forward to. And Coach Thiessen was telling me, hey, most of our best guys are guys we pick up after the senior year, and gave me a great example of Caleb Barillas, and look where he is now. He's playing for Florida.
And having Coach Calhoun as your position coach, do you see a different side of him, and kind of how effective is he as a coach?
I think he's the best coach I've ever had. I definitely see it a little closer just because of how more involved he is, just because he is my position coach. And I think, you can kind of see the mind of a coach and how he thinks and like what he's thinking when we're going into games, how we game plan, what we're doing in practice. And I definitely think I've learned a lot just from observing how he orients himself, and I think that in itself makes me a better football player as well.
Dylan, what are some of your goals for this year? You talked about having a chip on your shoulder. You talked about kind of being ready for this moment. But this season, what are some of your goals?
I think we always start off, we want to win the CIC, be Army and Navy. And honestly, when it comes to myself, I just want to be the best person I can be for how hard I worked in the offseason, how much I've been working in fall camp. When you put numbers to, I think 1,000 yards is a respectable goal. That's something I've been looking forward to. I think, it's obtainable. And besides that, I just, I want success with the team. I want us to, day in, day out, every single week, produce as best as we can, no matter our outcome. Of course, we want to win, but if we're playing at a high level, that's the only goal I want, is just to win as many games as possible and, put our seniors into the White House. That's a big thing.
Leadership in the secondary, right? You're a guy who has experience playing. Do you feel like you got provided a little bit more leadership because you had that experience?
Most definitely. I'll say it's a tradition from past leadership. You're under those people and you see that the standard and you just carry it on. So I think it's more of a top-down type, seeing how people did it before us and then keep going now. So,
what is that standard?
Dominate, really. Our whole mindset in the secondary is to be the best. This past few years, we've been the top secondary in the nation, so nothing less than that.
This year, being a senior now, how excited are you for game day in less than 2 weeks?
Oh, man, I talk about it all the time. Even in my squadron, I talk about it, and everyone's excited for us. Got the new stadium, so also new lights, everything. So it's a big deal for me, and I think it's a big deal for all the seniors as well.
And then I was at practice on Saturday. Y'all's defense looks pretty solid. How are you feeling now as a senior, and how would you grade the defense in practice so far?
Oh, confident. I say that every year. A lot of guys are in these roles where it's next man up. So one person goes down, the next person's up, and most prepared for it. So I don't have any doubts in the secondary. I don't have doubts D-line, linebacker, any position. I think everybody's ready to go.
How is the competition at corner? Because I know are there really only 2 spots, or do you think you guys might find a way to all 3 get on?
I think we're all 3 going to get on somehow. We learn nickel position, safety. Every corner, every safety's talking to each other about each position. So I think anybody can play any position. It's competitive, obviously, having especially with the corners having Jerome and Trey. So it's like we're all competing to get on the field, but we all know at the end of the day we all want to win. So whatever that takes, whatever position it takes for us to do that, that's what we're going to do.
Who's the best cover corner out of the three of you?
I mean, we all are good corners. I mean, just having that type of mindset is just be like, I'm the best, and we all go out there with that same type of mindset. So, I mean, really, I think we're the best corners in the league. So, I mean, that's just how I look at it.
What's your goals for this year?
Really, I just want to win the first game. Really, right now, that's where my mindset's at. I don't really think too far ahead, but obviously the CIC is a big thing, Mountain West Championship, and getting that playoff bid. So I think those are the long-term goals, but right now it's Merrimack, and that's where our focus is at right now as a team.
What do you feel like your strengths are, and what do you want to get better at?
I say our strength is just being a vocal leader on the field, secondary. A lot of times people think safety is that role where it's like, oh, you got to be loud, but corner too, you can make an impact in the corner as well. So I think having that experience and being confident and kind of telling my safeties like, okay, like be confident, like I'm rolling with you, I'm behind you, whatever you call. So I think that's one of my biggest strengths. Improve on. There's a lot of things I can improve on. Obviously, I'm not the most complete corner, and I think everyone can attest to that and say that I can do better. But I think that's just me and my mindset is just I can always be 1% better each day I go out there on the field.
With the three of you and the kind of the diverse skill sets you have and body types you have, will there be some matching up? You know, are you better against a certain type of receiver? Maybe Jerome's better against somebody else, or is it all very much interchangeable?
I think if you look last year, it was never like one person's guarding like one person. It's always we're all go out there confident. Like we know we can guard the best Mountain West players, the best out of conference players. So we don't have no doubt. Obviously Jerome's more a linky guy, so I mean he has that stride where it's like you can run and catch up. But I think we all like practice in the sense of we got one of the best scout teams too. So it's like if we can guard the scout teams, we feel like we can go out there and guard anybody.
Speaking of the internal competition, when you look at Air Force's receivers, who has kind of stood out to you as kind of the most talented?
It's a lot. Obviously you got JR, shifty guy. I mean, speaks for itself, his film, and Brandon Ingle, big physical guy. He can block, so it's like if you see him, like you know you're gonna have to put your foot down, try to get off the block. So it's a lot of players though. It's a lot of uprising players too. A lot of scout team players that I could see making an impact on the field this year.
Oh, real quick, Coach Calhoun, when talking about you mentioned a lot of academic stuff, and I think he did the same in the spring. Like, what do you feel like you have done that's kind of caught his attention on the academic side, and how much effort has that been on your part?
He'll tell you that I probably had a 3.0 the past 2 semesters. That's just getting in the rhythm of the academy. Freshman year, obviously, was a struggle, and it was like, a whole lot on me at that time. But I think settling in and getting to know people around the academy and knowing that they want your best interest as well. Also with the teammates, Jerome, econ major, so he's good at certain stuff. I'm good at certain stuff. So just having that like bond within the team and knowing that like they'll help you out as well allowed me to like be more successful in the academic sense.
And what is your major?
I'm a management major.